up, my beautiful people? Welcome to the War Room. I am your fight goddess, Chris Baldwin. I'm here with my special guest and co host, Mr. Doug Betts. He is the founder of Black Coffee Professionals, a virtual Black business networking group. And we have a very special guest in the house today. Brandi Joseph is one of, actually, the only Black owned gun shop in all of California. So, Brandi, I want to welcome you to the show and introduce you to our audience. Thank you for being here today. Before we jump into our big conversation about Black people owning weapons, tell me, how did you get into this business? I just have to know. Were you ex-military? How did that come about?
No, I'm not military, not military or law enforcement at all. One, I'm a businesswoman. So that's where we'll start.
I love that.
But it was also during COVID, I went to go get my concealed carry permit, and the process wasn't too friendly to me being in a room. I live in a very conservative community. It was at the time when Black Lives Matter was marching. So the class was pretty packed, probably about 30 something people, 25 to 30 people. And I was the only African American in there. It was an 8-hour course, and I got to sit in there and listen to everybody dog whistle for about 8 hours. You know, just being in the room, every time they drop a little punchline, everybody's looking at me to get my response. They knew exactly what they were doing. If I would have responded, everybody would have clutched their pearls. I know that, I know the routine. But going through that process, and then I had a problem with the lead instructor on the line. So I ended up they didn't even let me qualify. So I ended up having to go somewhere else and take my course. And my train of thought on that day was just, I already paid to be in the class. Let me finish the 8 hours, get my certificate. And when I need to renew, I just won't come back here because I'd already paid. Nobody was going to give me my money back. Nobody cared about my feelings. So, and then at the end of the day was when we had to call, and I ended up having an issue with the lead instructor, and he ended up kicking me off the line. I was like, okay, whatever. So about a week and a half later, I just went and took the course somewhere else and passed it, of course, and got my permit. But what overall made me do it was the day that I had got kicked off the line, I had drove home crying, and I called my husband, and I was so upset. I was just so upset because not only did I have to sit in that room as an educated Black woman, what excellent credit, that's never been arrested, that grew up in some of the most conservative communities, communities that a lot of those people didn't even live in. I grew up in the suburbs. I lived in Chino Hills. I went to Norco High School. I graduated from Altaloma. I live in Temecula, the wine country now. I've never, for me to be in those type of environments, for me just to get treated like that, just for being Black, was ridiculous. There's so many of me that has to sit in these rooms and get treated as if we're the bad people out on the street. And that really pissed me off. So on the way home, I cried all the way home. My husband was just like, and my husband's a white man. And my husband was just like, you know what? The only way for you to stop that, because there's a lot of people that feel your way, feel the same way as you. The only way to fix it was for you to become the dealer. So I opened up the gun store.
That's incredible.
When I wanted to start training, I couldn't find a range that would let me train. Nobody would let me train there. I went to a range, and they played the biggest game with me, made me do the tour of the range and pay the range fee. And at the end of the day, they're like, okay, well, you want to train here, you have to write a letter to the owner and tell the owner what you're going to be bringing to the range if you work here. And I had already been at the range training to be an instructor under another instructor that was there. So I had already known the ropes and been around there. And I knew a lot of the instructors that were there, but it was just me branching off from this person that they didn't really want my crowd there because this range has a reputation. And so he told me, yeah, you can come here and pay, do the range, the tour and sign up. And then I paid my fee, and he was like, I was like, okay, so I want to get on the calendar to train. And he was like, oh yeah, that's not how it works. And I'm like, well, I know all the other instructors here. So tell me how it works, because I've been in the room before. And he was like, oh, you got to write a letter to the owner and tell the owner how you're going to be beneficial to his company. And I'm like, okay, well, how long does that take for him to see that? He's like, maybe 6 months. He's out of the country and traveling. Yeah, keep in mind, I know other instructors that are there that never even anything with the owner, like nothing. I was just like, okay. So from there, I came home, and my husband went and grabbed the tractor and built me a range. So now I have a gun range. I have 12 bays here. I could stretch out to 15 yards.
Oh my word.
I have my gun store on the property. I have a whole nother dwelling for my store. And then I have a 2-story barn on the other side that he converted to my concealed carry classroom. And I went and got my credentials and got on Riverside County and San Diego County's concealed carry list. So now I'm a vendor for the county. So I'm a one-stop. I do all the licensing, I sell the guns, I do all the training, and I do the CCW certifications here.
That is amazing. Congratulations,
Thank
first of
you.
all. That's insane. So there's always that extra step. Doug and I are over 50, let's just say that. So, we're very accustomed to doing
Oh, don't do that to
extra.
me. Don't do that to me. I just turned, listen, I just turned a big 6-0. I'm gonna wear it with a badge of honor. I
I was trying to be
and I
nice,
don't
Doug.
mind saying it. I don't mind telling anybody. If you don't mind me interjecting real quick, Brandi, the unfortunate thing I'm hearing here is that your encounter, your experience is probably one of thousands of acts of microaggression
Yeah.
and subtle and not so subtle
Yes.
racial encounters and racism that we go through as a people on a daily basis that are often untold because it's hard to point a finger at it, but people in our community know what's going on.
Yeah.
And if we bring it up, then it's always, oh, you're playing the victim role or you're playing the race card. But again, this is a reality that we have had to deal with ever since we set foot in this country. And so I am very interested in your story, and I'm not going to belabor my comments, but I will say this: we would love to have you on our platform to discuss the the processes in for myself, for example. What is a process of me becoming a gun owner,
Mhm.
concealed carry, you walk us through it. And also we would love to have you spotlight your business because our platform is all about promoting Black
Black
owned
on.
businesses.
Yep.
And
Okay.
and myself, I'm glad you're here because I myself was looking to purchase a gun, and my wife was looking, and I know now where I'm going to go for my purchases and my training and all of the stuff like that.
Absolutely.
There's
Yeah, if
nobody,
you
there's
guys are
nowhere else to
looking, you
go.
guys got to come hop
Yeah.
in. We actually I created a very unique program called Try Before You Buy. It's a 3-hour course. I cover storage laws, transportation laws. I do the FSC testing, take you out to the range, train you, and then you get to test fire 18 different guns. You get a little spreadsheet. You can mark down if you like it, you don't like it. And then at the end of the course, go back, review whatever you liked or you may like, and then narrow it down and choose your firearm.
Wonderful. Absolutely awesome. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm a pretty good shot if I have to say so myself. You see that big old 0 right there?
You got that ready.
Yeah, I got that
That got
ready,
out
baby.
earlier. So let me go find this.
I had to dig that off of my IG page.
But if you can elaborate a little bit, Brandi, can you kind of just give us a little insight? Why is it important for Black people and members of the community to own firearms? Just go into a little bit of that. And also, second part of that question is, are there any Black gun clubs that you would suggest or recommend for us to join for the purpose of camaraderie, training, and things of that nature?
Or we can start our own.
Yeah, or you could start your own. I think that Black firearm ownership is very important. One, the community always needs to be able to protect themselves. I mean, just anybody. It's not only about being Black. Why would you want to live in a world where you cannot survive an attack? Like that's beyond even being Black. Why would you want to do that? And not only that, as African Americans, we fought for this. This is part of what we fought for. We should be taking up arms. And the thing is that a lot of us actually do own firearms. We do have a high rate of firearm ownership. The problem is that they're not legally registered. That's the issue. So I deal a lot with correcting registrations on firearms when I know people have guns that are not registered in the state. There's a lot of people, which is why you see a huge influx. When you see a lot of firearms being used, are typically much older firearms. And there's a lot of them in circulation because before California started making people have to go in and do the drills, they were just transferring from one person to another. And there's still people who do that do not know that they should be walking into a gun store. So there still are the bigger issue in the Black community is the correcting the registrations, because they got guns, they're just not registered to them.
So folks
Yeah.
can, if they have a weapon at home, they can bring it to you, or they just have
Yeah, and
to.
we could either you can bring it to me, or there is a website where you can legally register it to your name. And the biggest thing is that we got to stop doing is handing the gun over to your niece or your nephew or your kid. You know,
Wow.
just like a vehicle, if you buy it and it's registered to you, you always turn in that bill of sale to the DMV. So why don't you do it with your firearm?
Right.
Right. And there's so much of that in our community that we don't. And then the other part of the firearm ownership, I think we stayed out of it because representation. That's just the biggest overall issue has been representation. I sell guns, hundreds of guns every single year to majority Black women, proving that representation matters. There's always been a gun counter for them to go to. There's always been a gun counter available. It wasn't until they seen somebody that looked like them that they're like, okay, this is what I look like, you know,
Right.
and I can see myself in her, or I can see myself there. I feel comfortable going there asking the dumb questions. But overall, it's important for everybody. It was one of the rights that we fought for. We should be able to take up arms and legally get our concealed carry permits and step away from the old school antics. You know, the way we handle firearms is rooted in the history of firearms, because it was so illegal for us to own them back in the day. So just because we didn't own them didn't mean that we didn't have them. And moving forward in history, we always still had that same attitude about registering our
Hmm.
firearms.
Hmm. When did we get the
No, it's
privilege of owning firearms?
Ooh, I would have to look that up. I actually have a whole presentation on that.
Okay.
I do. I have
Okay.
a whole presentation on the history of firearm owners, Black history of firearm ownership. I did it to San Diego Gun Owners Association. If you go over to San Diego Gun Owners Radio, they have my presentation at the gun show on there.
Nice. Very nice. Doug, would you want to ask it?
very briefly, I do know a little history. And just in recapping, going back to Jim Crow, right after Reconstruction, there were codes written in
Mm-hmm.
laws in a lot of southern states that blacks were not allowed to own firearms. Not only that, we weren't even allowed to congregate in groups of three or more. Otherwise, we could be picked up, arrested, and detained. And I even going back to California history, California used to be an open carry state. A lot of people don't understand or didn't realize that until
The
our
Black
brothers
Panthers.
in the Black Panthers were carrying and scared old Governor Ronald Reagan into creating laws to restrict gun ownership, to whereas everything had to be registered and recorded and what have you. So yeah, there's that going on. So yeah, there's always been a history of fear of African Americans with firearms, which is so ironic and strange because we are probably the least threat to the majority population in this country. No, we're not storming in their neighborhoods and shooting them up and killing them, and
Or
as they
assassinating
traditionally, yeah,
congressmen,
or
congresswomen.
assassinating
Right.
politicians. Yeah,
Right.
that's not us. Now we do victimize ourselves, but we're not victimizing other groups, as the narrative is often misrepresented.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was about 1934. I'm trying to find it. I have it all in here. If you would have told me you wanted me to talk about that, I would have pulled that out. But
No,
yeah,
I
so
just
the
pulled that
overall
out
the
since it popped up.
yeah, so the Mulford Act passed in California in 1967. That was the act that Reagan had signed with the support of the NRA to take away the open carry rights in California.
Hmm.
That's what he signed, because what happened with the Black Panther Party in May of 67. So yeah, I can actually go all into that once I dig my notes out if you guys want to do another segment on it, because I have a lot to tell. I went all the way down to where the gun rosters came from, the Black Code, the Slave Code, the Saturday night specials.
Wow.
Yeah, all of that. It was all rooted in racism. It's
Yeah,
crazy. That's why I tell everybody, gun laws, that's where they all came from. Because
yeah,
when guns became available, there was never a law written to
Right.
stop a free white man from carrying a gun. So that
Exactly.
means every other law was written to stop everybody else.
And most of the laws on the book was to stop Black people from doing something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something.
And with the major agreements of everybody else, they just decided that they should live underneath the same laws as us. And now
Yeah.
we all have gun laws.
mm, mm.
So
It's
what's
good for the
your
goose, right?
yeah, exactly. What's your plan for Fortune Firearms? Are you trying to expand your business at all?
um, no, I think I want to buy a gun range. That's all I really want. I want to buy a gun range, open up a public gun range, and then decide on what I'm going to do from there. That'll probably be my ultimate retirement.
Right.
I got to find a good piece of land out here. I was in escrow for 41 acres, but I found out that it was 85% of the property had to be conserved. So I dropped out of escrow, but I will probably wait until mid next year when everybody starts losing their properties and tax defaults and go pick some up.
Right. Well, look, if it's a public range, does that mean you are leasing it out to like government agencies, or how does that work? Or
No, it'll
you're
just be a
just
public gun
open?
range
Oh,
open to the
okay.
public. Yeah.
Okay,
No, I'm
gotcha.
not leasing it
Gotcha.
to nobody. It'll just be a gun range open to the public, rifle range, couple 100 yards, and then a couple pistol range, trap shooting, rented out to like the Boy Scouts of America, stuff like that.
They're still around?
Mhm.
All right. I
Well,
thought they were disbanded.
No, they're still around. Yeah, they're still around. And then, there's a lot of different organizations that are always like the shooting sports and stuff like that. So I can always contract with them and
You have
things like that.
competitions out there, shooting competitions?
I do not, but I'll have them when I buy one. I will.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Oh,
now, Brandy is the owner of a gun merchant yourself. Are you in connection with black owned or black gun clubs in the area?
No, I don't. I know there's Standing in the Gap. I know there's a NAGA.
I'm familiar with
Um,
NACA.
and there's like some online Facebook of like ladies who shoot, and it's a bunch of black women. But there's not like per se or like a gun club, or organized something going on. I have a gun club of women. Mine is the Downrange Divas. So it's about probably 17 women now, and we've been in it for almost 4 years.
you meet once a month? How often do you meet?
Right now we cut it down to once a quarter because everybody got super busy. The kids
Yeah.
started graduating, everybody started getting flaky. They were here 2 weeks ago, and then now we're going to start meeting every other month and bringing in different stuff. So with my gun club, we up until about 6 months ago, we were meeting every month. And so I do a different curriculum every single month. I'll have somebody come in and teach CPR. I'll have somebody come in and teach canning, emergency preparedness, bug out bags,
Survival skills.
yeah, survival skills,
Yeah.
as well as we took a Krav Maga class. I
Yeah.
have
Love that.
one of my instructors has a jiu-jitsu studio in San Diego, so he'll be doing some of our training. We also do obviously firearm training. They're all can still carry their firearms, and I teach them how to carry, how to draw, everything they need to know.
How hard is it to get a concealed carry permit?
Depends on what county you're in.
Well, for
If you're
San
in,
Diego, for example.
so San Diego, you can probably get it done, and so average wait time in San Diego is about 9 months to a year.
Dang.
But if you stay on top of it, you can probably get it done in about 5. The thing about the Permitium system is that when you log into the system and you sign up for your concealed carry permit, you have to select an interview date. The interview date is what pretty much takes the longest. You can go and get your fingerprints ran and clear a background in 2 weeks. So it's typically that interview that's backed up for you to get in. But the thing about the interview, let's say if you sign in right now and it gives you one in January, you sign in the mornings, like 5:30 in the morning, and select to change your date. Don't confirm it, just select to change your date. And anybody that canceled the night before, their day is open. So I had somebody that applied they had a date in January, and they're now up to July right now. So in July they have their interview. Nice. And they're initially January, but he kept logging back in. He moved it once, then he logged back in again, and somebody had canceled, because, you know, people do cancel their interviews because they still want to be able to get their permit, and they don't want to piss off the sheriff's department by doing a no-show. So they actually log in and cancel them, but they don't call the next person. That appointment just goes back in on the calendar. So if you watch the calendar in the morning, like 5:36 in the morning, you'll catch the canceled ones, and you can get in a lot quicker. And then in Riverside County is about 3 weeks.
Damn.
So this is the type of useful information that you offer to your customers, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I can imagine, you know, the white gun owners are not providing this information to black gun buyers. They're probably just leaving it up to us on our own to figure things out.
Right. Yeah, and most of them they're not as diverse as what I do. A lot of people are more transactional. You come in and you leave, you come in and you leave. But since I have, you know, I have to offer so much education to the community, I build a good rapport with everybody that comes in.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. Well, you know, Black Coffee Professionals is a Black business networking group. We would love to have you come on our platform and share the information about your business and your services, so that you know, our group members can know this. Right. There are a lot of them out there, you know. And again, black gun purchasing is lagging behind other groups, and we need to be able to have this useful information so that we can go through the right channels and the right processes to do things the right way, and not get pulled over with unregistered firearm and getting ourselves in trouble.
Well, Black women are the leading demographic in purchasers right now across the entire country. Women are purchasing.
I love that.
Yeah, well, you know, you have to, because it's sad. It's sad. I've seen so many social media videos where aggressive men are approaching Black women. They're being targeted for these aggressive acts in public. And I was like, geez, and I don't know what the reason is. Maybe there's a resentment there of the success of the Black women in America. I think that may have something to do with it. But yeah, there's a need there for you guys to arm yourselves and be ready. You know, it's not like we're not promoting violence. Obviously, we're not promoting. Yeah, it's just all about self-defense. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, it's time. I mean, it's definitely time that women understand that nobody's coming to save them.
Damn right.
You know, and especially for Black women, I don't know who would come and save me if I'm in public. I don't know too many people that will step in if anything happens. Even if there was another Black man in the room, you know, there's still that possibility that he ain't gonna step in. So
no,
I already know that I
got to handle my society. We live in a sad society where people are putting up their cell phones and recording instead of assisting. And I don't know, it's this generation, I just don't understand it. And maybe it's a social media thing that's just really disengaged us from humanity. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. There is a huge disconnect.
Right. Yeah. Well, look, Brandi, is there anything that you want the audience to know right now that what you're doing with Fortune Firearms? What's happening with them?
You know, just getting everything back together. I just took almost a month off. I'll be back on the range this weekend. Just took almost a month off. Got some stem cell therapy. So I'm just getting back to it slow. I'm going to start offering kids classes. So that's what's next.
How young?
7, starting at 7.
Wow.
So I'm in the process of building out a kids program. I already ordered a bunch of SIG P 322s for the kids to shoot with, and did a video of my son shooting it. You'll see it in the morning. I just had it edited. And you know, I'm going to bring in more children education. I think that's also huge. There's a couple things that I do like to touch on that's really common in the Black community, and especially when it comes to the older community, the older ones of us. They have the attitude that they say, I don't need a gun, I got Jesus.
Well, Doug and I are not one of those elders.
Unfortunately,
and that is so common.
Historically speaking, Jesus has not always saved us from white supremacy. They burnt black churches and shot black people, all throughout our history. So, yeah, God is good, but you need to protect yourself as well. And
Yeah.
we remember not too long ago was Dylan Roof walking to that
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Emmanuel Church and lighting it up, and then we had the incident in Buffalo not too long ago. So yeah, it's real, folks. It's
Yeah,
real.
I remember that. I
Mm.
think that's one of them. And then it's that attitude is what keeps people from buying. And then also a huge thing that we need to start doing is introducing our children to firearms. We don't do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We do not do that. For a lot of us African Americans, our first exposure to firearms is more than likely by somebody who never should have had a gun in the first place, and we need to definitely stop doing that. A lot of people have the attitude that, I don't want my children to have access to firearms or anything like that. But just because you don't have one in your home doesn't mean they won't have access to one at their friend's house. And one of the biggest things that I want to make sure I start driving home, that I start taking up um, more, is the need to train your children to have respect for firearms.
Mm-hmm.
Because your children will encounter them. Telling them not to touch firearms is just as dumb as telling them, oh, don't have sex. They're going to do it. You gonna turn your back and they're gonna do it.
Right.
And if you're going to teach them about sex education, you need to teach them about firearms as well, because they're both equally as important to their life and moving forward. I remember there was this video a couple years ago that just really got to me about the lack of education in the community. There was these two kids. It looks like, I think they had got like an Airbnb for a birthday party, and the kids, it was like 15 and 16 years old. Somebody had took their gun off and they got their hands on it. They go downstairs into the basement and they turn on their camera so they can do a live. They don't know anything about the gun. They got their music on. They have the gun, and one of them has the gun in her hand, goes like this and shoots the other. Bah! Drops the gun. The gun hits the ground. The cousin hits the ground. They're cousins. She panics. She bends over to pick up the gun. As she's coming up, she touches the trigger and shoots herself.
Oh my word.
And that is the epitome of why we need firearm education, because those kids didn't even know as little as don't touch the trigger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like just a simple little thing. You know what that trigger does? just that little of education, but we don't do it. We don't do it. Where our attitudes are so old school, especially coming from my mom's time. My mom is 81. So when she grew up, if you got caught with a gun, you gonna get lynched. You got the Klan after you, in trouble. So even me as a firearm dealer, when she sees me walk around with a gun on, she's still like, girl, you still think you should have that gun? I'm like, Mom, you know who I am?
Right.
You know what I do? But it's still rooted there,
So how many guns do you own? How many guns do you own besides your whole shop? But I mean your personal.
I don't know. They come in, I get them, and I put them in the safe. So I would probably have to count them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, she's locked and loaded.
Well, as they come in, new stuff gets added to the roster, and I feel it. I'm like, oh, I like it. And then I go shoot it, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna take this one.
Right.
And it's mine. And then, after that, I do that every couple months or a couple times a month, or maybe once or twice. And then now I don't even know. So
what's your favorite gun right now?
Probably my Sig Macro. No, it's not. It would be my Springfield XD and Elite.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, for the first time gun owner, what would you recommend for someone who's never held a firearm before? What would you recommend as a first time gun purchase?
I would tell them to go shoot them all.
Okay.
There is no recommendation. Everybody's hand sizes are different. Yeah. Everybody has different grip strength. Everybody has different strength to be able to pull that slide. Everybody's web of their hand is not going to go around and reach the trigger the same. The longer the barrel, the less recoil. The heavier the gun, the less recoil. That person may not know that they have weak hands and can't control the recoil until they fire a smaller gun. So my advice would be to fire them all. If you can't get into a class with me where I do a try before you buy, just go to the range and keep renting them. And when you go to the range and rent them, take the same piece of paper and write down what you think. But before you go to the range, get instruction. Okay. Don't be cheap. Get some firearm instruction, because going to the range and holding the gun like this is very different from when you have a master grip and you can actually hold the gun. And if you're holding the gun the wrong way, you may be holding it in a manner to where your finger can properly reach that trigger. But if I put you in a master grip, there's a huge chance you're not going to be able to hold the gun. So that's why that's important as well, is to make sure that you, while you're testing it, you know, you're working from the correct fundamentals and making sure that you're holding the gun the right way, you're pulling the trigger the right way, so you have a really good opinion of it.
Yeah. What's the instruction cost for the day, or how many hours is it?
So it's an hour and a half. If you did a private me, it's 125. If you join the class, it's $99. If you did the try before you buy, that's 150. And I include all the eyes, ears, ammunition, and the firearm rental.
Oh.
And there's no additional range fee when you come here.
That's fantastic. That is a good price.
Yeah, that's what I advise.
Awesome.
Everybody
Great.
gets some instruction. You cannot know if a gun works for you if you don't know how to use it.
Exactly.
Right? Just like with a car, I can sit in the front seat, feels good. But if I'm not to drive it, I don't know if I like it.
Exactly.
That's
Yep.
a good analogy.
Right on. Well, look, is there anything else you want to touch on before we let you go?
No.
All
No.
right. Well, look, I want you to tell the people where they can find you.
Okay.
On social media.
You can find me on Facebook at fortunefirearms.com, Instagram, Fortune Firearms. I don't know my TikTok, but I don't think I have one. Or fortunefirearms.com on the website. That's my website. Or you can call me 951-390-6348. I actually answer my phone.
You sure do. And I know that I'm dying to like schedule like a group to come out to Temecula, but you know, afterwards we're gonna go on a wine tour because you guys are like in wine country.
Oh yeah. You got to go on the wine tour.
Yeah. So
make sure you get some good food before you get there. Apparently, all our wineries have went to bar food after COVID. So,
oh my goodness,
can't even get
I would probably recommend.
A girl can't even get a decent meal in there.
I'll probably recommend firing first before getting wine. So
exactly that
yeah,
part.
we definitely want to have you. We definitely want to have you on the show, Brandi.
On Thursday. Thursday, you got to have you back on Thursday. That's what our next recording is, on Thursday.
Okay.
Okay. So look, folks, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Doug, do you want to share the next BCP meeting?
We are meeting this Thursday, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, 6:30 Eastern time. You can email me at dougbenefit65@gmail.com. That's dougbenefit65@gmail.com for the Zoom link for the meeting, or reach out to me on Facebook, Doug Betts. Or if you're a member of the group already, Black Coffee Professionals, reach out to us there. We are a private group, so yeah, do have request admittance. But either way, or call me 619-554-2492. We'll make sure that we invite the entire Black community. We're looking to grow and expand our network. We've quadrupled our numbers in the last couple of months, and we want to grow even further. So yes, by all means, we're supporting Black business, Black business owners, Black professionals. We want to support you, Brandi, to see your business grow. You know, we want to have 1,000 Brandis across the country. So
because I think there's like literally less than 30 Black gun shops.
That is so shocking.
It's under a dozen.
That is so shocking.
That's even worse.
It's under a dozen. Yeah,
I do shocking.
I do hope that somebody else would be willing to get into the business.
Well, what's it cost to start? How much you need to get started?
I've offered mentorship and everything else to people. So
what's the investment? Let me tell you. Let me see if we can make that happen.
The initial investment is whatever you want it to be. You know, the inventory you can start with online.
Oh, okay.
And not have to carry an inventory in house. You know, and when people order online, they can come out to you when the firearms arrive and start their 10-day period until you start building your revenue, and you can start having stock. So it just depends on what you want to do. You don't, I mean, getting this is maybe the FFL together, maybe about $1,000. The big investment is the workshop or the store or the inventory. But again, you can do everything online and just drop ship, and then convert from drop ship to start having stock.
That's right. I smell opportunity, folks. That is opportunity. Okay.
Yes, we
So
need it.
look,
We definitely need it.
Well,
that's
each one got to teach one. It was Geneva
that's
Solomon
right.
that owned Redstone Firearms, the other black owned dealership. When I opened up my dealership, I didn't know anything about guns. My
What?
husband told me to become an FFL, and I was like, okay, we'll figure it out. I didn't know anything about selling guns. I didn't even work at a gun store. And I ended up hitting her up on Instagram, and I sent her a message. I said, hey, I just opened up a gun store over here in Temecula Valley, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And she sent me a message like, oh my God, call me. And she mentored me for 2 years.
That's
She told me
beautiful.
everything I needed to know about, sent me her templates, showed me, helped me through my audit. I mean, that woman saved me. I didn't know anything about the gun business. All I had done before was purchase a couple guns, but I didn't know too much about it. And she guided me, and she was my mentor. So each one teach one. If somebody wants to get into it, I'm willing to pass the information on because she blessed me with it.
Wow, that's incredible. I love hearing stories like
Wow.
that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wish you all the best. We're going to see you on Thursday, Brandi, for another round of discussion on gun ownership, Black gun ownership. Folks, thank you guys for tuning in. If you like what we talked about today, please hit that subscribe button and that like button and set your notifications. So every once in a while, when we do these videos, you'll get a little notification. But look, you can find me on Instagram at Fight Goddess One. And I'm on Blue Sky because I don't try not to mess with Facebook too much. But Doug has dragged me over there to Facebook. So you guys check out the
Young
Black
men.
Coffee Professionals. Look up that private Facebook group. But I'm on Blue Sky. So you guys look me up. What? Fight Goddess on Blue Sky. Until next time, folks, peace, love, and power to the people.